Welcome to the Sleeping Barber Podcast.
Recording.
The magic of
radio,
recording.
of podcasting.
That's right. It's probably why we're all a little loopy as well.
A little bit, yeah. I can
Getting
see
ready for the holidays.
I can see rum and eggnog around the corner. All right, Hilary. We've got Hilary Borndahl that we're going to do a post-pod on here. V, what did you think?
Yeah. What a great conversation. And I don't know, it felt like she's done this before, so to speak. She brought a lot of great insights. And some of it's insights it's not that we've not heard it before, but it's worth repeating. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, at the end of the day, there's a few things that consistently stand out where it's, the more you get the pulse from your consumers, the more you're able to lean into media mix modeling, the more informed you are in making decisions that are right for your business.
Mm-hmm.
That for me is the crux of the conversation. And I was just really appreciative of the insights that she shared.
Yeah, I totally agree. What was something that stuck out for you as far as the insights?
This is not going to be groundbreaking, but, CMOs need to be data savvy and understand analytics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we talk about it enough, or it's just something that we naturally, just think everyone does. But we have to make sure that we are inundated with the right data, we're inundated with the right analytics, understanding them and what they mean in correlation to consumer behavior, into, how does it help amplify performance for your business, and things to that effect. So CMOs need to be data savvy and understand analytics. I think is the first one that really pops to mind. How about you?
Well, just building on that one too, like, it's interesting, more and more that I spend, more and more time I spend thinking about the Ehrenberg Bass stuff and just marketing effectiveness stuff. I also realize there's a lot of data that's junk.
Yes.
And then, and now I'm kind of looking for specific kinds of data when I'm working with clients, because I'm looking, I believe, I'll take, law of double jeopardy as an example. Mm-hmm. Big brands are big because they have more customers, and those customers are slightly more loyal than small brands who have fewer customers who are slightly more loyal. So I take stuff like that and I go, okay, well, if that's true, then we should be able to measure some of those things around loyalty. We should be able to measure some of those things, other laws, or not laws, but at least patterns. Your customer satisfaction scores don't really change across brands in the category. So then you look for things like that. You go, is that true? And then you find out actually it is. And then you go, okay, well, why are we spending all this time on pouring through customer satisfaction data and NPS scores and things like that, when it's actually not making a meaningful difference in your output or objectives, revenue, let's say, or profit. So I find I'm more and more selective now. And I think there's so much data, and we talked a little bit about that with Hilary.
Yeah.
There's so much data, you can get you can drown in it almost.
Yeah, the art is how do you cut through the BS and focus on the, I won't call them KPIs, but the metrics that truly matter for your business.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, let's not forget, we had Hannah and Kai on the show, and they showcased that periodic table of measurement. And what was the number?
Effectiveness system. There's something like 400 KPIs
that we interchangeably use. And, I think, again, at the end of the day, you have to make sure you're finding the ones that actually translate to results, but also help you communicate your effectiveness to your stakeholders.
Mm-hmm. Totally. There was something that she brought up, which I thought it was really great. The idea performance marketing actually works.
Right.
It does.
I still have a job.
Yeah. I thought it was great, mostly for because I feel so bad sometimes that we bust performance marketing, and it does work. It's not, and I don't think anybody says it doesn't work, but it's a funny word. I think that's the thing that most people get hung up on the brand side of things, because they're well, brand isn't performance.
Yeah.
Coming back just to the numbers of stuff, performance marketing does work, which I thought was a refreshing take.
Yeah, half jokingly, I know in the episode, I kind of sigh of relief there because, of course, and I will always attack the discipline as well.
Yeah.
And I think it just comes down to the overpromise that performance marketing had, but not really put in the light for what it can actually do. And you're right. There is a great way to drive a lot of short-term, I don't want to call it growth, but short-term revenue or orders or whatever for whatever organization you're using it for, and understanding the different tactics that you can pull in those moments, understanding where your intent lives, have you action against that intent. Like there is an art to performance marketing to do it the right way.
For sure.
But it shouldn't be skewed performance. We have to look at marketing as a whole. So that's where like the 60-40 rule comes into play. How are you making sure that you're amplifying your voice or the intent in market, and then, growing that pie versus, just focusing on the apples that have fallen to the ground.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the one thing that floored me was that search is not often driving significant ROI. That was one of the things that she talked about. I'm like, from a media mix modeling perspective.
Yeah, it's
marketing mix modeling. Why did I screw that up when we were actually interviewing?
I don't know.
Can't even remember how he said it, but I totally butchered that.
It seems that it's counterintuitive. The only thing I would say to that is it depends how you're doing search. Now, because she talked about providing incremental growth, that search does not provide that. And if you're, again, the way you're orientating, you're creating your campaigns, you're, leaning into your branded keyword list more, Google will ask you to make sure that, you're adding broad match modifiers to it because it's more effective that way. That's still in and around your branded keyword. And when you do that, though, it may not be incremental. It may not be. Usually it's not incremental. However, there are ways through search, because it's still one of the highest intent platforms that exist, when you're, spending more time conquesting potentially, or you're spending more time on the generic keyword list, where I'm searching for one of your competitors, but now you're prompting me with, one of your ads. That could be, growth. So I would argue, yes, I hear you, the way a lot of traditional SEM practitioners probably use the platform, but I still believe you can grab, or you can squeeze some growth out of the tactic. Just got to do it a different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that totally. But it's true. Like this is another one of those things where I think you have to understand the data you're looking at, because you can, and we've talked about this a lot, but you can easily just look at the numbers and go, oh my God, look at that 27% click-through rate and a 8% conversion rate or something like that.
Yeah.
Compared to all these other ones that are like a 3 or 4% click-through rate, 1% conversion rate. And you go, that one with 27% is so much better than the one with the less percent.
Yeah.
And then you think more about it and you go, oh, that was a branded keyword. Like, we're probably getting that anyway.
We're getting that. We're making it easier for the consumer to find us, but you were probably going to get that anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good point.
What else do we have here?
Well, another one that she brought up was the creative. From a MMM point of view, creative is still the biggest driver of effectiveness. Which, again, like to your point earlier, a lot of these things aren't radically new, but they're just like, it's interesting confirmations.
I completely agree with that. We can't lose sight of that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter the strategy you have in place, the tactics that you've chosen, it could be all bangers, right? Like this, it's perfect. However, and I think this is where pre-testing comes into play in some capacity, but it's the creative itself has to carry weight.
Yeah.
To truly be effective and, have everything kind of work in its, in this beautifully orchestrated, strategic plan. Without good creative, sometimes you will fall flat.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And really more and more, I'm trying to find a good way to think about this or say this, but more and more, I think that creative is the targeting tool.
Yeah. I can see where you're going with that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you could reach, I'm just thinking of the broadest perspective, like possible group. Let's say from a traditional media point of view, you could reach all adults 25-54. Within that, there's a whole bunch of people that are to buyers for today and buyers for tomorrow. But if you have the right creative, you're going to reach the people who are both the buyers of today and the buyers of tomorrow. Just by having that one all adults 25-54 targeting. So the more you start layering in things like, recent behavior, contextual targeting, shrinking down the age demos, all those kinds of things, you start getting into tighter and tighter groupings, and then you add in creative on top of that still is the same creative, let's say. Yeah. You're now shrinking that possibility of reaching that group even further. So in some ways, like, I know people would think of that as wasteful by doing the adults 25-54, but then on the other hand, it's so much more expensive to do the narrow targeting, and you don't really know if those are the people in the group who are buyers.
Yeah. Again, I think this just goes back to the earlier state of performance, where you promised that you can target these really small audiences really effectively and drive increased conversion rates, et cetera, et cetera. But I think as time progresses, you're starting to realize there's probably more inefficiency in doing so and really limiting your opportunity to find those conversions when you're being so narrow. I think it's just the more we sit with, the more we see some of these things, we see them playing out a little bit differently. And what I love most is a lot of marketers out there, performance marketers included, they're being a lot more bullish and trying different things. And I think that's why we're getting more and more of these insights now than ever before, is because you're trying all these new things, these different ways of targeting. We've been somewhat forced to because of the limited targeting abilities from cookies.
Sure.
But at the same time, I think that's where we're at our best, is when we're being pushed outside of those comfort zones.
Yeah. I think I tagged you in something too the other day. Somebody had said performance marketing wasn't working, so we did something different, and it's not brand. I'm like, oh, okay. So something to that effect, right?
Yeah.
And so the story, I wish I could remember who it was, but anyway, it was a really cool post, but they're talking about, ultimately they were saying branding has got a terrible brand.
Totally.
So we're just not doing we're not using the word branding, but essentially that's what we're doing. But we have an expectation of everything having a direct response. So brand campaign has an objective of building memories, links between a brand and a category entry point, say.
I think you're measuring
the direct
for that.
response. Measure that. And so that's the objective. It's the direct response, but you're not measuring that the same way you would measure a ROAS optimized Facebook retargeting ad.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because that's a direct response for conversion, but that's a different job.
It was almost a little bit clickbaity because you're right. I did read the post, and it's what you just said. They were just measuring for the outcome that they were expecting with the tactic, versus trying to bundle this up into one, affinity metrics and consideration metrics and all of that. So yeah, I think it was an interesting take. I don't think they're wrong in that approach. I think, again, measure what you can, grab the insights you can, that you can then continue to either evolve the strategy, the program, or whatnot. But yeah, no, it was good. But it does lead me to one of my last points from Hilary was, the future of marketing measurement requires a holistic approach. Multi-touch attribution studies often yield limited insights, primarily focusing on frequency. This one really stuck out for me because I know there was this mad dash to get those MTAs in, so then you can understand a lot of these performance tactics better than ever before, where some things naturally are underreported, things that we needed to make sure we're giving everyone the credit that they deserve. And do you remember when you asked me about MER, the marketing effectiveness ratio? I was wrong. It is actually probably the easiest way to start looking at your media effectiveness. And it's something that dawned on me, I want to say about 3 weeks ago. We started working on it internally, actually, because we're trying to find a metric that we can use across multiple brands that have so many different nuances. But at the end of the day, when you think about what are we actually trying to achieve, and it is to gain more than what you're putting in. So if you're investing $1, you better be getting more than $1 in that. So MER, for those that don't know, is the marketing effectiveness ratio, and it's calculated by efficiency
ratio, right?
Yeah, efficiency ratio, and it's calculated by taking your total revenue divided by your total ad spend. It's not groundbreaking. Probably one of the simplest things that you could possibly do. But it spits out this ratio that it needs to be greater than 1. So the benchmark becomes that in of itself. And it's easy then to measure different tactics. You can do it all up, so then it takes away the whole attribution side of it, because if you're looking at everything holistically, it doesn't even matter at that point. But it can tell you what tactics, like the moment I did YouTube, my YouTube MER is actually under 1. But that's okay because everything else went up, for example. So you're able to start building connections to your tactics and allow a very simplistic formula to actually measure that efficiency. So I think at the end of the day is find something that works for you. I'm actually going to become quite bullish on this for 2025. So, foreshadowing to our year-end episode. But it's I feel like it becomes a very easy way to also go back in time to measure what your MER was, but also in the moment, the things that you need to be changing. So
there's some cool things with that. In a way, I mean, it's in the name. It's an efficiency ratio, though, so it's still just not just. You still need to think about effectiveness.
100%.
Right? Like, because you can be super efficient at doing something that's not going to generate future returns.
Yeah.
Like, think about Kodak way back in the day. It's such a great example. We're going to have to get a new one at some point. But I mean,
so true.
They were really efficient at selling film.
Yeah.
And then eventually they weren't.
Until they weren't.
Because they said no to, actually developing a digital camera. So there's the effectiveness part is building the digital camera, selling that, which costs more at the beginning. But that's like a market orientation kind of thing, and like an innovation process, and doing the right thing for future cash flows, investing in future growth, and those kinds of things. Like Apple maybe with their smartwatch and going into the healthcare industry.
Yeah.
It's not as efficient as, say, the iPhone sales and the ads around iPhone sales.
Yeah.
But it's a cool metric for sure. I love that one.
Yeah, and a lot of people are going to be quick to say, what's the different from ROAS? And when you're thinking about ROAS, it's actually calculated by taking your total ad campaign revenue and divide that with your total ad campaign spend. Right? So you're getting, again, a number on that side, but it's different things. It's not the same thing. So at the end of the day, something like MER, for example, and it could be something different for someone else. It doesn't have to be this, but I'm really excited about it because I think MER forgets about attribution and focuses on the overall efficiency of the marketing budget versus, some of those other frameworks that are out there that, they overcomplicate it. Yeah. And this is simple.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Cool. Well, V.
Yeah, man. It was a great episode.
Yeah, it was really great. Hilary, thanks so much. So awesome to have you on the show. Yeah. Great. And she's going to be coming out our way at some point, hopefully. And
that's what I heard.
Yeah.
Be great to connect in person.
Yeah, exactly. Go for coffee, hang out, talk more about marketing metrics.
Yeah.
What could be better?
I mean, it's what everybody does.
Yeah.
Well, it's time for me to go chase some profitability.
Fantastic.
Got some snow to shovel, so I think as I'm shoveling the snow, I think I'll be able to find something there.
Some flakes of
profitability,
financial profit.
So we'll see.
Try.
It's okay, man. It's okay.
Yeah, it wasn't so good. But thanks for supporting me, V.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
And
thanks for a great year. Although this is, again, going to be playing in the new year. So you got to think about that next time.
It's all good.
And thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.